Right, moving on with carp rigs and technology and the forethought that's gone into this particular rig. I come up with this rig probably, I'd say 6 years ago. After watching a lot of carp in the edges, how they get rid of rigs. I've called this one the Hermit lead. It's a very, very clever rig, and it's the ultimate. I can't think of anything better than this particular rig. Now, it's using the power shock leader, which is going to be, it's got a permanent home in my tackle box, this product, and you need this for the Hermit rig. I would normally have about 5 turns of this, so you're using an awful lot of it, 5 turns on the reel, so there's probably about 40 foot. But this is a shock leader with a difference, because this is fluorocarbon, it will sink down. You use this particular rig, because it's elasticated, and I'll show you in a minute how we're elasticating it, but primarily what you've got to get into your head is that this goes straight through to the swivel, protected by the bead, which is quite important. I'll use the first contact beads, but you need a tough rubber bead, not the hard plastic, but a tough rubber bead. Because if you have a soft bead, once you cast out, the swivel can end up back through inside the bead, which affects the mechanics. But if you look at this, I'll put this on my hand just to demonstrate it. You've only got to move a few mil, and that's literally taking hold of my finger, and it starts to hurt after a while because it's pulling, the elasticity is pulling against, it's almost gravity, but it's not gravity, but it's all inside the lead, and hence why I called it the Hermit rig. But it will catch fish right the way through the winter. This is when I really use it. But like I say, the power shock leader is probably one of the key elements, and also the tail rubber. What we've got inside here, the little tag end, and I'll demonstrate this in a minute. If I pull this rig, you'll see through there that the pole elastic is whipped on. And if you notice how far back it is, it's probably about just under 3/4 of the way up the tubing. So there's very little amount of pole elastic to do that job. And what happens once the fish is hooked, if you get a really clever fish that tries to pick that up, that picks up the lead on its axis. So it will always get the weight of the lead, whatever way it's moving. If it's moving sideways, and once he's had enough, the fish has decided he's not going to get rid of this particular rig, he's going to bolt, that pulls out of the tail rubber. So you're left with a little tag end. The fish is, you're literally then onto a running rig, and basically you can fish your bobbins on the floor. It's very critical, don't fish this tight to the lead because the elastic won't be able to stretch then. So that's the rig null and void. You need to let the power shock leader do its job, lay along the bottom, have the bobbin on the floor. Once that's run, you'll get a little tiny flicker on the bobbin, then it whack, you're gone, you're into a running rig. So, but the key element to this is the pole elastic and the shock leader, which, it lays down flat, everything's out the way, you haven't got to worry about back leads, you don't want back leads on this. This is the whole point. You want your bobbins on the floor, nice slack, so you're not going to spook the fish. There's one mouthful to go at. You can still fish this over a bed of particle or boilie, and it will nail a lot of fish. And what I've incorporated, basically on the rig end, just a very open gaped rig with a tiny little kicker, little piece of tubing. I've been using the fang twisters on this particular rig because they do turn in very, very, very quick. They're ultra sharp. All you need is just literally the fish to move a millimetre of pressure away from the lead, and it will do its job. So what I'm incorporating here is a new prototype braid from Ultima. This has got the sinking element. It will lay flat. You can see how nicely it's cooled round. They've put in a fleck to break it up. Most bottoms, whatever you're fishing over, will have elements of black in it. It will do the job. This one will be out in the new year. It's certainly another product for my tackle box. So I'm going to put this rig on and we're going to show you how we catch a carp on it. The key part to this, and the bit that I get asked the most, is the pole elastic and where it goes. Now you're literally going to do a 4-turn grinner knot and holding a very small tag end at the bottom. It's just literally a slip knot like you'd put on pole elastic on, if you're marking your line up or whatever. Just literally 4 turns, and then we're going to pull it nice and tight. It's a little bit difficult to work with pole elastic, but it will go into a knot. And then what we're going to do is slide it down. This is the hardest part that people don't understand, so I'm going to go slower on this part. We're tagging off the bottom, we're chopping off the tag end off the bottom. And if we can find the tail rubber, we're going to pull this through till we can just see it at the other end. And then trap the tail rubber on as not to pull that part back through. So what we need the knot about here 3/4 of the way up the tubing. If you have it too close down here, when you pull it, the knot comes out and it can loop the leader. So you don't want that. The rig, once that happens, the rig won't work. So you need it literally further up here. So I'm going to slide this down, get hold of the power shock leader, slide it down, work it out finger-wise. That's perfect. And now we're just going to tighten that up really tight so it doesn't slip. Trim off the little tiny tag end almost to, you know, so it's so close so it doesn't get caught up in the tubing system, and then pull it up. You can now take the tail rubber off and adjust your tension. So if we test the tension there, we can see it's working perfectly. Absolutely perfect. That you can see just how, I'm sorry if that's a bit quick, but that's how fast a carp can shake its head and he's gone on a normal rig. You know, you can throw your lead, and that's the idea of this particular rig. So we'll just put down the tail rubber, on it goes, chop off the tag end, and you have yourself probably what I'd consider, I've been into rigs for like nearly 30 years of carp angling. This has been the side that I've always been into. It's probably what I'd consider the ultimate carp rig.